All right, everyone. Happy Wednesday, October 12th, 2022. We are recording live. So this is Daka and Alenka. We are welcoming you to our channel. We will be just waiting a few moments for people to tune in. It's just a really fascinating, how the shadow banning really works. That's when you know that you are above the target. So for those of you that can actually see these videos, um, consider yourself lucky one, blessed one. Make sure that you make the most out of the information that we will be sharing with you, that we continue to share, we continue to put out. I just like to let everyone know that we do this because of our love for freedom, love for our country here in America. We are streaming live from California, Southern California. Been traveling, but making time to get back with you guys because we care, And so, if this message is resonating with you, we are welcoming you. We try to do these videos as often as possible. We are very busy standing up for what was gifted to us by our founding fathers. So this is about freedom and liberty and remembering who we are and why we are, and trying to make a difference. So I'm welcoming you all to this wonderful Wednesday afternoon. Hopefully you are all having a great day, making the most out of your day. Remember that we are powerful creators, that we decide on the journey and the experiences, how we want to really live, how we want to experience it, as long as we are not hurting other men and women and hurting their property and trespassing on their rights. And that's really how simple the law is. So I'm welcoming you all, and today we will be talking about your right of self-help. So maybe Doug, we can start with just reminding people, how is America structured, and do we have public rulers or public servants in America?
No, we're the only country that doesn't have public rulers. We have public servants, and the people are sovereign, the people are the rulers. So the only people that we answer to is God. That's the only king that we have. And that's one of the reasons that our founding fathers came over here, was for freedom of religion. So, um, yeah.
And that's in our First Amendment right, and that's very important. That we have the right to exercise freely our right to religion, our right of free speech. And also, let's not forget some very important right in the First Amendment, the right to petition government for redress of grievances. So can you maybe say something on that?
Yeah, the best. Okay, look, I have a friend of mine, Kurt Pendergrass. Okay, he's got Kirk's Law Corner. If you go on Kirk's Law Corner and you watch his educational videos, he'll explain everything from A to Z on how this country's set up, and about petitioning. And everybody thinks that you're supposed to go to the courts. Okay, well, it was set up the legislature, the executive, and then the judicial. All right. So the legislature, they propose these so-called laws or these bills. The executive executes them, and the judicial, they basically rule on the making and the execution of these so-called laws, because they have to be constitutional in order to be able to be utilized against the people. And then they talk about general laws. Well, a general law is a law that affects everybody, everywhere, all the same. So like the Constitution would be a general law. The other laws are called specific or special laws, and they only pertain to certain groups or classifications of people, such as citizens, persons of residence, or deputies, or judges, or prosecutors, or these are all offices that people hold, including citizens. Okay, so
And we did, and I did a great video on taking the office of a person. So, guys, if you haven't seen it, make sure that you go back to it. This is very important. So go ahead.
yeah, well, citizen, person, and resident, CPR. That's what a dead person needs to be brought back to life. I mean, they put it right in your face. Okay, and there's a maxim of law that you only control what you create.
That's very important, and I like to just kind of like a little bit emphasize on that and build on that. So let's repeat that. You can only control what you've created, right?
Right.
So, and this is very important. So if you believe that you have public servants, right, that comes from that idea that they did not create you, that government did not create you, that you have a creator, your own creator, where you came from, and that came with your God unalienable rights that cannot be taken away from you. They don't come from another man or woman, they come from your creator. And all those rights, is basically, it's the law is very simple. Like we said, as long as you don't hurt another man or woman, their property or their rights, you are free to go on living your life, enjoying this journey. But what has happened, it kind of has kind of took a little bit different approach, where these people who hold these offices, now they think that they became somewhat these rulers, that they have the higher authority, and now that they will be dictating and they will be controlling your behavior. So very important, this is a very important mindset shift, where you need to remember who is your creator. So if the government has not created you, then government is below you. Okay, and this is very important that we have to remember.
Well, no, the pecking order it comes from the way that the country was set up was there's this thing called allegiance. Okay, and so in the old country, the Pope wanted to stand between the people and God. Okay, the people and their king, and wanted them to show allegiance to the Pope. And that's where all the Roman law and all that crap came in. Okay, and so the people they protested. Okay, and so they all left and came over here to have religious freedom because they only served one king, and that's God. Okay, and there's nobody stands before them in God. Okay, and that's what they protest, and they're protesting. They became the Protestants. Okay, so there's a whole thing about our country. We don't have any public rulers. These aren't lawmakers. They don't make law over us. They don't have anything to do with us. Okay, that we created the government, or this trust indenture, in order for uh, us to have a Republican form of government, okay, which is the best government for the people, because everybody in a Republican form of government has a vote, okay, and every vote and every opinion counts. You can't have a monopoly where a bunch of people go like they do now in this fascist corporate democracy, where they go and they pay these lobbyists, go pay these congressmen to give them a blowjob behind their back and pass these bills, okay? Because they're all a bunch of perverts, all right? They're not working for we the people. They're working for themselves and their buddies. And they're bringing them in, and they're giving them our resources, and they're charging us taxes, okay, that come from our resources, but they're selling our resources too, so they're getting paid twice, all
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. So this is why the First Amendment is so critical. The First Amendment is basically the peaceful way to ensure that our rights are secured, are not trespassed on. And so let's talk about the important point of petitioning our governments for redress of grievances. We've already talked about it in one of the previous videos about the law for notification. So today's discussion is about your right of self-help. So Doug, can you explain to us a little bit what that means?
Yeah, for the longest time, I didn't understand how you could take and make your own documents, your own paperwork, and utilize your own private administrative processes and get anything done, because they would tell you, they would ignore it, they would tell you, you can't do this, you can't. So in 2007, I believe it was, I got this book on the laws of debt and payment and collections in the United States, and it contained the UCC in there. And they had changed a couple of definitions in the UCC for rights and remedies, where it said rights include remedies, and remedies include the right of self-help, or the right of self-help include any remedial remedy that you could use, okay, as long as you didn't breach the peace with or without resorting to a court.
What is UCC?
Uniform Commercial Code. It's basically the common law of the federal government right now, because everything is in commerce. Everything's done in commerce. They're a corporation. All of these states are corporate franchises of that. The counties are corporate franchises of the state. The cities are corporate franchises of the county. They're all interlocking, okay? And so the right of self-help comes in because if you learn the law, okay, and you know how to apply the law in your own private processes, meaning that you know what due process is, and you know how to set up a document to give people the proper notice and proper time to answer and the proper time to rebut it, and if they don't, you know how to default it. Okay, right there you've just held what's called a court of record, or what you call a private administrative process. What you don't realize is all of these courts are administrative tribunals. They're private bar courts, administrative tribunals, okay? They're for profit. And what they do is they bond you, okay? They bond your case. They sell it. They trade you in commerce. You're traded on the stock exchange, okay? You don't know this. So you think this court's about justice and all this stuff. It's not. They're acting as banks, okay?
Yeah, they are bankers.
And so you don't have the knowledge because you weren't given it in school. They don't teach you anything about law. They don't teach you anything about investments, and they don't teach you anything about medicine. Why? Because they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to be self-sufficient. They want you to rely on their quacks in all three of those professions to screw you, okay? Because that's what they do, and you don't even know it, okay? So once you learn the law and how to apply it, you're allowed to use your own private administrative process. Okay,
And
so let me explain.
Yep.
Okay, when the prosecutor and the police go out to a crime scene or accuse you of something, they go out there and gather evidence that's biased. They gather everything that looks towards your guilt, or that they can twist and make you look guilty, and scoop everything else under the covers. Okay, they hide it. All right. Then they take that to the district attorney, and they don't share it with anybody else except another attorney if you hire one. All right? They don't want to let anybody else have access at it to help you make a defense. They want to keep it within their little brotherhood so they can steer the case in the direction that they want it. All right? Now, what they do in their investigation is they do their investigation. They give you all the notices of the stuff that they think that you've done, and they place all this stuff before you. Then they take you through a 90-day system, okay? Pre-trial, jury trial, sentencing, okay? So they do all of this in a certain sequence so they can invest these bonds, because after 90 days they can pool them and don't have to go through the SEC, and they can sell them to these hedge funds and these investment funds, okay? And these other corporations that like to invest in this type of paper, okay? So they do this, and you don't even know about it, all right? But now, you don't do your administrative process when they do that stuff because you don't know about it. But now, if they do something to you and you come back at them with, okay, well, check this out. You're charging me with this. Well, I want to challenge your jurisdiction. You show me where in the legislative section of the Constitution that you're using for your scope of authority, where you were delegated power to legislate over the people themselves, okay? And they won't be able to do that. So how are you subject to their private corporate policies and codes, you see? But if you don't know this, you can't apply your process and get them in default where they shut up and they didn't rebut the fact that you're not subject to their stuff, that you're a man and that their stuff doesn't apply to a man, and all this other stuff that you put in there, that they go silent because they can't rebut it because it's the truth, okay? So when they go silent, they agree to it, okay? Now when they've agreed to it, they can't proceed with it, because if they do, they're intentionally subjecting you to involuntary servitude, which is a crime.
And the reason why we are taking them through this process and into the default where basically they acquiesce, they did not respond to it, is their tacit agreement. And when you have tacit agreement that someone committed trespass violation of your rights, well, there is no need for judicial process. Is that true?
Well, that's true, but see, not only that, it sets the facts. Okay, everybody has a right to the process that's due to them. Okay, so let's say you and I get in a beef.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I come up to you and say, hey, look, man, I feel what you did was wrong.
Yep.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and you injured me in this right here.
Right.
And then I feel you owe me this in damages.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you say no. Okay. Well, now there's a controversy.
Right.
Okay. So now I've given her the notice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Of what happened, and she didn't want to make it right.
I didn't make him whole.
Okay. She didn't make me whole.
That's...
Therefore, she didn't do her job. Okay. She didn't tell me, hey, well, I didn't do that. She didn't tell me
and provide
the
evidence
okay.
and facts.
So, I mean, this is the same way that you deal with this so-called government. It's not a government, it's a corporation. And under the Clearfield Doctrine, it cannot be a government because it took our money. Okay, and when it took our money, it made us debtors. All right? Well, we didn't have a choice. And that's involuntary servitude. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so what they're doing is they're running an administrative process on us, and we're not doing our administrative process to rebut theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So when it gets to the court, the only thing that the court has to view is their administrative process that shows that you're guilty, and they're not basing it on facts and evidence. They're basing it on financial futures. How much is that judge going to get paid by convicting you? Okay? This is where the game is. When you show up with another administrative docket or administrative packet or your administrative
court of record
already done, you've exhausted your administrative remedies, and your public servants haven't given you the remedy that's due to you. Therefore, they've breached their fiduciary duty and they violated their oath of office, which is a crime. And it's an emoluments violation because we pay them taxes for their services to protect our rights as their first duty. Okay, says that in the Declaration of Independence and all the other foundational documents. Their duty is to protect our rights over everything else. All right. When they don't do that and they keep that pay, that's fraud. It's an emoluments violation. That's a crime. So all of these crimes that they're committing, we need to start holding them accountable for, liable for, because they swear an oath. And see, they try to play a game. They say, okay, well, yeah, we're bonded. Well, no. Okay, California government code, because I just looked it up again. It starts in, I think, 1450 and goes to 1500 or something like that. And it requires them to be bonded. Okay, have a fidelity bond. Okay, and have it registered in a certain way.
Well, and having it available to any person who requests to view it.
Oh yeah, they're supposed to give you a copy of it, not just have it. You're supposed to be able to get a copy of it.
To get a copy. Yep.
Okay, because that bond is what if they hurt you or cause you injury or break your property or what have you, okay, then that bond is what covers the damages and injuries to you. See, that's what allows them to work and carry a gun and take those risks because, they will be careful because if they're not, then this bond is going to attach to them and they're liable for the bond. They got to pay that off. All right? So, but you get indemnified. So, I mean, it's a good system, just like their oath. Their oath is their liability bond because when they sign that oath, they're liable for anything that they do outside of the Constitution, outside of the duties of the office that they're holding. Okay?
And this is also why we have to also mention that their personal liability comes when they step outside of their limited scope of authority.
Well, what happens is this right here. What they've done is these corporations have all got together into interlocking stuff. Okay, so. Number one, they're not lawful corporations. You can file a document called no-till corporation, ask them to provide the documents to show that they've actually became a corporation and they've got the charter and who's involved in the whole 9 yards, right? Okay, so you can, and you'll find out they don't have the documents because they'll say that they're not a corporation. Okay.
Isn't that incredible? Because they are basically they are masquerading as government, yet they are corporation, yet they don't have the proper charter and all the filings this corporation should have.
Well, no, here's where this comes in. You're right there, but the game is what they do is they're in league with Duns and Bradstreet, okay, and Duns and Bradstreet allows them to claim the classification of a corporation, U.S., not publicly traded, okay, and then they give them a credit score which allows them to access certain credit, okay, in certain amounts. Well, they're taking that credit and they're using it to create agencies that hire agents that come out and eat out our existence, which is a tyrannical act according to the Declaration of Independence. All right? So it's all fraud from the gate. If they don't have the proper paperwork filed, they're not a corporation. Yet they're claiming to be a corporation through this other corporation that's allowing them to do it knowingly, knowing that they don't have the proper documentation, because I got on the phone with Duns and Bradstreet and had long conversations to them about the fraud that they're committing. Okay, so now you've got these two corporations in contract with each other and allowing each other, covering each other as crimes. Okay, and you've got nobody else that's going to look into it and do anything about it because they're all basically eating out of the same trough, right? Okay.
So they basically created a very nice closed circle of, of criminal enterprise.
Yeah, it's a closed circuit criminal enterprise, and it's a chain conspiracy where everybody has a part in the chain. They got a link in the chain where the conspiracy can't go forth without that link, right? Mm-hmm. So what it is it's organized crime at its finest. I mean, I wish I'd have thought of it.
And it's the inconvenient truth that everyone has to really start comprehending and how we deal with it. So let's go back to the right of the self-help and the non-judicial administrative process and kind of the steps. Like, why is it important because of exercising this First Amendment right?
Well, exercising the First Amendment right, before you can do anything and get any action against any of these so-called public servants, you have to give them the process that's due to them. So you have to give them notice of what they're doing wrong. You have to give them the reasons that they're doing it wrong and show them the law and the evidence so that they know that you're not just spitting stuff out there, okay? Mm-hmm. So once you do that, they have a fiduciary obligation to quit breaking the law and quit causing harm or injury, okay? So when you put them on point like that and they don't do it, okay, well, your notice is a public record. It's on the public record, okay? So now all the crimes that you've noticed them that they're committing, all the injuries, is part of public record.
So we start with the lawful notification.
Right.
We basically let them know.
So once you default them, okay.
Now hold on, there is one step
in
order, right?
No, yeah, there's one step, but it's all a part of the default.
Okay.
Okay. The first step, you notice them, then you give them a 3-day grace period once they go into default. But the reason that you do that is so that they have a chance to do the one thing that's right and cure their fault, right? And if they don't do that, then you lay out what they agree to.
So
okay?
let's just recap, okay? Because this is very, very important. Because remember, you are not being taught this in school on purpose, okay? They want you to be law illiterate because then they want you to hire attorney.
Yeah.
That is part of their system. That is not fighting and standing up for your rights, but actually it means that you don't know your rights, so you need to be represented, and they trick you back into that system of that legalese of all these codes, statutes, and regulations that do not apply to living men and women, but only to the person. And we did that video. What does it mean when you are stepping into the office of the person? You are stopping to be the living man and woman, and you are becoming fictitious legal entity. And that's exactly what they want you, because now they can control you. because you basically surrendered. Okay, you surrendered. So this is why the lawful notification is so important. So we start with the lawful notification. Because you have to remember that we are honorable men and women. We want to make things right, even with our public servants, right? This is why we are exercising our First Amendment right. So lawful notification, we let them know, Mr. City Mayor, Mr. Health Officer, this is what you did, and this is how you violated my rights. And I'm giving you 21 days or 30 days to fix it, to correct it, correct? And then when you don't hear back from them, that's when you send the notice of fault, basically letting them know that, listen, I sent you lawful notification on such and such day. You can do it with a proof of service, certificate of mailing that someone signs that they witnessed you, that you were putting it in an envelope, or you can send it certified mail with a return receipt. And now when they did not comply with their duty, because remember, they are your public servant, they work for you. It's kind of like having employee. If you have company and you have employee, you pay that employee to perform certain job, certain duty. And if your employee is not performing your duty, would you just let them to continue on their rogue behavior? I know that you wouldn't. So this is why you notice them, right? They don't respond within the 21 days, allotted 21 days. This is when you send the notice of fault, giving them an additional 3 days, letting them know, listen, Mr. Public Servant, you've been noticed and you didn't do your duty of correcting or rebutting anything where I am incorrect. So I'm giving you additional 3 days of grace period, because remember, we are honorable men and women, right? We are peaceful. We want to make things right. But you, Mr. Public Servant, you trespass on me, and you need to make me whole again. This is how we deal with men and women. This is how people deal with each other. When we do something wrong, we have to be accountable. We have to hold the responsibility to the other men and women and do it right. That's what it means to stand in honor. Okay? So we have the notice of fault. Then, if they do not respond after the 3 days, now we take it to the default. And so that's called the affidavit of default, final judgment, and res judicata. Because now they basically are acquiescing. They are agreeing by their silence that they have no objections. So that's their tacit agreement without objection. And this is how you are holding your court of record, because now there is really no controversy. They agreed that they did that. They did not rebut it. So all the charges now stand as they are. It's a fact. It's an evidence. It's law, and it's now standing as their tacit agreement.
Yeah.
And so what do we do next?
Well, what that does is it establishes the facts. So what you do next is it depends on what you want to do with those facts. Me, what I do is I take those facts and file a criminal complaint on an AO 91 with AO 442 arrest warrants attached.
Okay,
and send it to the U.S. Attorney's Office.
This is okay, guys. This is mind blowing. Okay, I want you to catch this. Can you repeat that back again?
Well, I said what I do with the facts is the next thing that I do is I file a criminal complaint with the Consumer Protection Task Force that Trump put in place before he left, and with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and on an AO 91, and then I send the arrest warrants for the individuals who violated my rights and committed the crimes against me on an AO 442 to the U.S. Attorney's Office with the criminal complaint swore out and notarized as an affidavit. And I give them a reasonable amount of time to contact me and tell me that they can't help me or whatever. When they don't do that, then I know that they're looking at it, and then I go into a tort.
Okay, but this is big, okay? Because how many of you have filed arrest warrant on a cop, on I know that he did. I know that I done. But how many of you? How many of you actually filed arrest warrant against any of these public servants that violated your rights and trespassed on you? And people will say, oh my gosh, you cannot do that. You cannot do that. They are the authority. Now let's talk about that. That's again very important mindset shift we have to create. You are the boss. Remember, you are hiring these people to perform the job. So don't you think that you should have at least the same rights that they do? So if they can issue arrest warrant, don't you think that you have the same right? You want to elaborate on that?
Well, yeah.
This is important.
We're a nation of delegated powers and authorities. The people are sovereign, and everybody rose to the height of a king or a queen when the war was over and we got our sovereignty. We're our kings and queens over here. The only people that we have to rule, though, are ourselves. We're supposed to be self-governing, okay? We don't need a government, all right? The government's there to handle business for us that we can't do individually. It needs to be done in more of a group setting, all right? Such as interstate commerce or, overseas tariffs or what have you, okay? And so, we don't need this great big government like in place
What we have now.
Right.
It became a monster.
So what happens is with the Republican form of government and the way everything is supposed to work, there's not supposed to be any controversies. We're supposed to be one big family. And each branch of the government is supposed to be keeping an eye on each other branch to make sure that they don't tread on each other's jurisdictions or powers, all right? So it's like, you think you file a complaint and the first thing that you file it to is into the courts. No. As a man or a woman, you have a right to redress and instruct your government, your
public
servants. Instruct them as to how they're supposed to do their job. You are their employer, just like you would be the janitor in your business. You're going to instruct him how to do the job, how you want the bathrooms mopped, how you want the halls mopped, what kind of chemicals he's supposed to use, blah, 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 right? Okay? Well, this is the same way. We're supposed to instruct these people how they're supposed to do the job for us. But we quit doing that, and they turned into corporations, and now they're doing it for profit, and they're working for profit instead of for us. All right? And so, what we have to do is we have to start utilizing the tools that are available to us, such as the right of self-help, to hold our own court of record, to utilize our own private processes to set the facts as to what really happened. And then the next thing we need to do is bring back our own courts, okay? Because what they did was they shut down our justices of the peace, our constables, and our coroners. And that's where the people get their remedy. So the people no longer could get their remedy. Only citizen persons and residents could get their privileges given to them, okay? And privileges can be taken just as quick as they're given, all right? So, it's the point where you have to look at where you're standing, all right? Everything around you is connected, and you're paying for your own destruction, all right? The money that you're giving them isn't going to anything that, look at the roads, look at the schools, look at our tax money's not going to that, it's going into their pockets, okay? And so what we're doing is we're staggering along with these blinders on, all right? Figuring that we can't do anything to change anything. But the bottom line is we can do anything we want. We can change anything we have a mind to change and come together to do. All right?
So let's go back to that tort, okay? So once we take it through the process, we do the tort. What is tort? Most people do not know what tort is.
Tort is when you have a claim of action as a man or a woman and you take it to them. It's not done through a court.
Yep.
Okay, it's done through a private process. All right.
And what also now we are also getting into, okay, so I got injured, so now there are damages if they did not correct their actions, and they did not make me whole. Now, you know, we have damages.
Right.
Because one thing what is really fascinating, and you people need to really get to kind of comprehend and wrap your minds about around it, is that if your employee, okay, these public servants are your employees, they work for you, you pay them to do certain job. Now they don't only do their job, but now they injured you, okay, they injure you. So when with your injury there comes damages. And you basically, this is important thing we didn't mention, was when we are sending them this notice of fault, we are also letting them know that, hey, listen, public servant, I am private woman, I am honorable woman, I am Californian, one of the people, and if you continue to, in your rogue behavior, if you continue to violate on my God-given rights, my unalienable rights, now you're actually entering into self-executing contract, and I have a schedule as a private woman. And every trespass, every violation you conduct against me has a tariff. It's kind of like going to a restaurant, okay? When you go to a restaurant and you sit down and they bring you the menu, right? They inform you, listen, if you continue to sit here in my restaurant, here is the menu. You order from the menu. So you order from the menu, they bring you the meal, right? Then everyone has to pay. This is the same thing. So with the notice of fault, you deliver your fee schedule. Mr. Public Servant, if you don't uphold your oath of office, this is my charge. If you do not rebut my affidavit, my statements, my lawful notification to you, this is my charge. You, public servant, if you assault me, if you bother me, if you put your hands on me, there is a hefty fee with that. If you interfere in commerce with me, there is a charge to that. And let me tell you, my fees are not cheap, because my freedom is actually very expensive. So if you trespass on my rights and you trespass on your duty to serve me as my public servant, well, we are getting very quickly to seven digits. And you people need to get used to that, because you are hiring these public servants to do their duty. They are your employees. They serve you. So don't you think that you need to hold them accountable and responsible, like you would hold your janitor in your company that you pay money to come every night to mop the floor and clean the bathrooms? Can you imagine that you hired your janitor, you hire a janitor, and they come in and they don't clean the bathrooms, they don't mop the floor, and they actually start going through your files, and they start trespassing on your business, and they start stealing your information, and they are making phone calls to Europe, to wherever in the world, causing you now damages. Let me see, what would you think? And what would you do? Would you tolerate this? Would you tolerate your janitor on the time that you are paying your janitor to go through your files, steal your information, trespass on you, cause damages to your business? Would you tolerate this? I want to see yes. Okay, I want to see yes in the comments that you would do that. I think no sane person, man or woman, would do that, right? And that's exactly what we've been tolerating and we've been accepting. And I think it's time that we draw the line in the sand and say no more. We need to hold these people accountable. We need to hold them responsible, and we are going to stand up. We are going to take them. We are going to exercise our right of self-help, Because if there is no controversy, right, if we take them through this process that we notify them, we give them the additional notice of fault, the grace period, we let them know, hey, public servant, Mr. Public Servant, if you continue to trespass on me and violate me, this is my fee schedule. So this becomes a self-executing contract, right? And they continue to do that, and now you take them into a default, and they don't object, they don't disagree, they don't say anything. Well, I guess they went to your restaurant, right? And they ordered from the menu, and now it's time to pay. So that's why we take them through the tort with our true bill. And now, Doug, what happens next?
Well, once you go through the tort, they agree to the damages, the injuries and the damages. Okay, so again, it establishes that and sets it in stone. All right, and so what you do is you bill them once a month for 3 months. First notice, second notice, third and final notice. And after that, you've got what's called an accounts receivable, which is actually credit that they're on the hook for.
It's in the system we are using, because we are basically using the existing system, and we are using the existing tools that are available. You are just not being taught, you are not being told about it to get our remedies.
But you can go to the UCC and you can go to definitions, which is UCC 1201, and look up rights and remedies, and it'll talk about the right of self-help and all of that, right? And then you can turn around and you can go look at Article 9. Article 9 is secure transactions. Okay, so what secure transactions are is, like, let's say we make a deal, right? And I'm loaning you some money and I want some collateral. All right, so I'm going to put a lien, and I'm going to put that collateral down on the UCC1 and place that lien and record that lien, so that if you don't pay me, well, then I've got certain things that I can do as a secured party as far as collect on that collateral. Okay, so what if you go and you start at Article 9, UCC 9609, it'll start telling you what your rights are after default. Okay, so once you've got this lien put on, which you do, I do it the first time. I send them the first notice to pay, and they don't pay me in the 30 days. Well, now I'm worried that they're not going to pay me. So I have a right to secure my stuff. So I go and I secure the collateral, and I usually take everything, like their home, their cars, anything like that that has a certificate or title.
Because remember, these are your public servants, right? So they have a limited scope of authority that came from you as one of the people to serve you, right? And if they step outside of that scope of authority, well, now they are becoming personally liable. Okay, and this is what, and I know that the public servants are watching us as well.
Hi guys.
So yeah, now this is how it used to be. You know, when someone wanted to become a public servant, they provided bond everything they owned as basically their guarantee that they are going to serve the people, that they will uphold their rights and not trespass on them, because that's their duty.
Well, check it out. All you public servants out there, let me tell you how you're getting trick-witted. Okay?
Oh, that's a good one.
See, they've got you. They have this indemnity insurance. Okay. Now, what happened is there's a thing in the California government code that says that they can use one of these bonds as a master bond to bond everybody, right? Okay. But there's still supposed to be where if one of the agents or one of the government employees injures me, I should be able to have a redress at getting made whole from that indemnity. They have to be indemnified, so if they hurt me, I get paid for that injury in damages. Okay, that's what the whole indemnity bond is about. Now they're operating as corporations in commerce. They're supposed to be indemnified in case somebody comes up and slips and falls on their floor, whatever, right? They're supposed to have insurance to cover that. Okay, so they've got these crime bonds and these indemnity insurance plans, right? And to the public, oh, they look good. Okay, yeah, if they do something against me, I can file against this policy. Okay, well, what we've been finding out is they are first-party insurance policies, and the only people that can file a claim is the corporation. They're there to protect the corporation, not the people. Okay? So you trick willies out there that are out here public serving people and hurting people, thinking that you're covered. Well, what happens is when we contact the insurance company, they send us a letter talking about, hey, we're a first party, so no third party can make a claim. And what that does is it leaves your ass hanging out there with no liability insurance at all. And the fact that you put your name on and signature on a oath of office, guaranteeing that you were going to abide by and conduct yourself within the limits set by the Constitution and our rights, which are law. Okay, once you violate that, all right, let's see, if you start using 18 USC 3751, something like that, where they calculate the crimes, it's $250,000 a pop for each crime. So 18 USC 241, which is a criminal trespass in our language, meaning that you violated my rights under color of law, and since there is no law, it's all color of law, that's $250,000 a pop. So let's say you do that 10 times in one night. Wow, that's $2.5 million that I'm in your back pocket for. Okay? And there is no insurance that's going to cover it. And back to 9609 to 9619, read it, because it'll tell you why I put a lien on everything with a certificate of title or a certificate of ownership, because by the time I get done starting at 9609 and going to 9619, I have that transfer statement. I can go down and pay a fee and have your house, car, boat, everything but your old lady transferred into my name. Okay?
Doesn't that suddenly give you people the power, right? That you actually can hold them responsible?
Yeah, and I haven't tried it with the marriage license, so I don't really know about the old lady yet.
that will be for another video for sure. Okay, I think it was plenty information for this evening. It was wonderful having you all here. So replay it, study it, and start standing up and start exercising your rights. Start holding your employees, aka your public servants, accountable, responsible, because remember, the power resides in we the people. Have an amazing rest of the evening. We are sending much love.
Good night.